What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise Live here on a Thursday afternoon. We got two games for picks against the spread today. We'll talk about some college basketball, maybe take a couple questions in regards to your Portland Trail Blazers. It's going to be a shorter stream, a more just kind of bare bones stream for today. Eric, what's going on, man? How's your day going?
It's going well. How about yours, other than getting the flat tire?
Yeah, I got a flat tire, so not as good as it could be, but we're gonna make it work. All right, I just got done replacing a tire, putting the donut on. I gotta take it in tomorrow morning and get a new tire. So I don't know what my luck is with tires, but I have terrible luck with tires. All right, and that's what I've discovered today. Anyway, let's just jump straight into things. For anybody asking what Joe Ingles said, we're obviously going to get to it, Jermaine King. But first, we got to get into picks against the spread. Here are the standings, Eric, and we've had some changes after Monday. Everybody did relatively well except for Zach. Poor Zach down there at 2-7. Jackson is the only other person that went under 500 at 4-5. I built my lead a little bit, going 7-2. But the biggest thing to note is Jackson has fallen out of second place. Chat, you guys have passed him up, and Connor has passed him up. Both you guys are 6 games back. Jackson a game behind you at 7th. Eric, you moved into 5th. You passed up Zach. So you were in 7th for a while. You're now up to 5th. You're making a little bit of a late season run.
Unfortunately, only 2 games today, so I'm not going to catch Jackson on this particular evening, but I'm coming for him.
Yeah, and I mean, Chris is only 3 games back out of Trevin there in 8th, so Chris has been doing a lot better lately than he started the season. We'll see if he can get out of the cellar, but things have definitely bunched up.
It's still not out of the realm of possibility for Chris to go last to first and Jackson to go first to last.
Yeah, Chris is going to have to really knock it out of the park. Mm-hmm. All right. Unfortunately for him today, there's only 2 games, Nets Sixers and Warriors Nuggets. Let's jump into Nets versus Sixers. This is Ben Simmons' return to Philadelphia, although he isn't playing. Philadelphia at home is a 4-point favorite.
He is out there getting booed in warm-ups, though. He's out there fielding balls for teammates. I was just going to double-check some last-minute things here, but the Nets are without Ben Simmons, Joe Harris, and LaMarcus Aldridge. And the 76ers are without Danny Green.
All right, there's your chat poll chat. Connor sent me his picks.
Yeah, me too. Connor's going with the 76ers in this one.
Yep. Sixers for... that was me. I'm going Sixers as well.
I am too.
Eric Sixers, Connor Sixers. What if we just get 2 clean sweeps today and that's all picks against the spread is?
Yeah. I ain't tripping since there's only 2 games.
How many games do we have next Monday? I'm curious. Trevin goes Sixers, okay.
Do you want me to look it up?
I can look it up. I got my phone right here. Yeah. I was already on the scores anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Nice.
So Monday's going to be a banger. Chris is going Sixers. Waiting on Zach, waiting on Jackson.
Jackson is pulling the Chris.
And going Nets. All right, Jackson. Jackson's been off his game lately. I don't know if this is him trying to switch it up to get back on his game or if this is just a continuation of it, but he's been in a slump. We'll see if he can make up a little bit of ground in this one. And then, is Zach here?
Don't know.
He can send his picks. It's 2 games, and the first game starts at 4:30. So he has until 4:30 to send me his picks. Chat ends up going with the 76ers. I'll do a chat poll for the double down. Final game of the day, Eric. Denver is hosting Golden State, and Golden State's a 2-point road favorite.
So Warriors are without Draymond Green, James Wiseman, who's been sent down to the G League and will, I think, play either tonight or tomorrow in their G League. So he's looking close to returning, but not tonight. Gary Payton II, Otto Porter Jr., and Andre Iguodala out as well. The Nuggets are without Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Vlatko Chonchar, uh, Will Barton, Zeke Najee, Bones Highland, Jeff Green, all questionable, and Aaron Gord probable.
Okay. Carson at 4:30 at the end of the stream. If he hasn't sent in his picks, I will let you pick him. Especially since it's only 2 games. Oregon versus Colorado is close. Interesting. All right. What do you know what you're going with? Jackson's going with Nuggets.
I'm gonna actually take the Warriors in this one.
Let me meditate for like 10 seconds.
Connor went Nuggets. Trevor
right.
Warriors, as he always does.
All right, now I'm gonna meditate for 10 seconds. The answer is gonna come to me. The Nuggets are going to have like a 4-point fourth quarter lead, and then the Warriors are going to bring it back and win by about 4 or 5. So I'm going with the Golden State Warriors. Chris is going Golden State. And then Chat is going with the Nuggets. Pretty split vote here. Hopefully Zach can make his picks before 4:30. If not, then Carson will. Let's jump into the double downs. Connor said his double down was the 76ers.
Yep.
And I'll do a chat poll for Chat. Chat, you're picking between the 76ers and the Nuggets. All right, there's your double down poll. Trevin is also going with the 76ers. Just like you did last stream. Did it work out for Trevin last stream? It actually did for once, so... Trying to push his luck with the Sixers. Who are you going with, Eric? Do you know?
I'm going to take the 76ers.
Because I saw a vision, I'm going with the Golden State Warriors. Telepathic Tory time. Yes, sir. I gotta save it for March Madness, though. Alright, waiting on Jackson, waiting on Chris. Chat, it looks like they are loving the 76ers, Eric. Honestly, at this point, there's no way bringing back this poll. 76ers it is for Chat. Which was also their double down on Monday. Jackson goes Nets. Chris goes 76ers. This is probably the most double downs we've had on one team, but I mean, there is only 2 games. Jackson is doubling down on his island. Well, it's an island as of now. And then we'll see if Zach shows up. If not, we'll just let Carson pick 2 games for him. No problem. Yeah, that's not what I saw, Jared. Anyway, that's picks against the spread. One last look at the standings as we head into today's slate of games. Now, honestly, the games that I'll be paying attention to today are not NBA basketball games, let's just be honest. You know, I'll scoreboard watch these 2 games. It's not hard to scoreboard watch 2 games, but it's all about college basketball right now. Eric, you're repping your Oregon State Beavers shirt.
They're officially done for the season.
But they were, you know, as close to being a Final Four team last year as you could get. So, you know, Elite 8. Hopefully they can get back there sometime soon. I need to get more Gonzaga gear. I need to get a Chet Holmgren jersey or just a Gonzaga hat. I'll probably just settle for a Gonzaga hat so that I can rep it on stream for you guys. So, I don't know. Where do I want to go with this? Do you want to go the prospect route, or do you want to just talk about specific teams, specific games?
Before we get into that, let's wrap up some news that potentially ties in with the Blazers
You
around
want to do Blazers first?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Okay,
I don't
we can
care,
do
but
we can do Blazers first.
there was some
Sure.
news that came out shortly before this stream that CJ McCollum has entered the health and safety protocols and may be out for 2 weeks. And that on top of Ingram possibly being out for a week to 10 days means that, yeah, we might have gotten lucky with that Pelicans pick. It's still going to come down to whether or not they win the play-in, but hopefully this means that they will not be moving up too much further in the standings.
Well, do we even know if they're going to be in the play-in?
Well, I
Because
mean,
they're probably going to lose every game without CJ
yeah,
and
I
without
mean,
Brandon Ingram.
it would be very nice if they get passed by, say, the Spurs or something. But
Yeah, the Spurs are only 2 games back. Spurs are in seventh, but only 2 games back of the Pelicans. So if the Spurs can just win a couple games, they've won 4 out of their last 10. It seems like they've been doing worse than they actually have been. They could have a real chance at moving into that 10th spot in the West and passing up the New Orleans Pelicans. The Blazers have 3 games left against the Spurs, so maybe that's a double tank situation where Portland's going to be tanking for themselves and then also tanking because they want San Antonio to pass up New Orleans so that they can get that New Orleans pick for sure, not have to worry about a play-in. Obviously, that pick can move into the top 4, but it's here's my question, Eric. If the Spurs pass the Pelicans would have approximately a 26% chance of moving into the top 4. Would you take those odds, or would you rather New Orleans make the play-in? Which scenario do you think is more likely where we get their pick? Like, do you think there's more than a 26% chance that the New Orleans Pelicans would actually play their way into the playoffs and win both playing games?
I mean, obviously, I think I'd rather risk. I mean, maybe this isn't obvious. I shouldn't say that, but I would rather risk them moving up than not getting the pick at all, because at least that gives us a couple more months of like getting, or a month and a half of us like talking about it, versus if they just don't, or if they just make the playoffs, then we're gonna know mid-April that we already don't get our pick, right? So I don't want that.
But it's also going to be more stressful and more disappointing on lottery day if it moves up into the top 4. You know what I mean? But the excitement would be fun. I don't know which would be more likely, them playing in or that pick moving into the top 4 if it had a 26% chance.
I mean, there's only 4 teams in the play-in, so it's just roughly 25% in that regard. Yeah. Zach just messaged me, so hopefully he's in here now.
Okay.
Yeah. So this might be a scenario where, I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe the Lakers do crappy too and stay. I don't know. I was just trying to think of a scenario where they would not move up to 8th worst odds, but also like not make the play-in.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming kind of unlikely, but
yeah. Either way, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Here's the thing, it's like, even if it's more likely that they move into the top 4, if they don't move into the top 4, their pick would be higher if San Antonio passes them. So that's the thing. If San Antonio passes us and New Orleans, we would have the 7th and 8th picks if neither team moves up. That doesn't seem so bad, you know what I mean? Like 7 and 8? That seems like maybe high enough you could move into the top 3 if they're, Detroit at 3 or whoever's at 3 doesn't really want Banchero or Ivy. I don't see that happening. I don't think it's likely, but at least you have a high enough combination of picks where that becomes a discussion. And then if you're looking on the trade market to trade for like an OG and an OB, that's just a better asset. The seventh or eighth overall pick compared to 10th. It doesn't seem like much, but it definitely matters in the draft. It's two more really good players on the board for whichever team has that pick to choose between.
Mm-hmm. Zach is going with the 76ers and the Nuggets.
And then what's his double down?
Nuggets are his double down.
All right, Zach's the only person doubling down on the Denver Nuggets. Thank you, Zach. He doubled down on the Nuggets last week too, so there we go. That's all picks against the spread. Sorry, Carson, you get to miss out on picking for Zach. Unfortunate. But yeah, so Sacramento is a weird case at 6. Like right now, my focus is heavily on San Antonio and what they do. Sacramento is just pathetic garbage.
You know what's funny? We might be in a situation where if we're going to win any games the rest of the season, it might be best to win against the Pelicans.
Yeah, I don't know if... you don't want their pick to move up too high.
But as long as we stay below them, and that means the Spurs pass them, I think that's... So you're saying you would rather risk them making the play-in than...
Well, if you're talking about the Pelicans getting up to like 6 or 7... where it's like a 32 to 37% chance of them getting into the top 4, I think it's less likely that they make the play-in, or they make the playoffs.
I mean, even if we win that game, or the 2 games, I don't think they're going to be worse than us the rest of the season. So...
I know, I'm just saying, like, at a certain point, you don't want them to lose. Okay? Right now, you probably want them to lose, but there becomes a certain point where... Like, if they lose a bunch of games, it gets to the point where you don't want them to keep losing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm willing to risk it, I guess. We've done it so far, right? I mean, if they get the 6th pick and we have a chance to get, like... I mean, obviously, we'd have to move up, but we'd have... And then they'd fall down 1. I don't know.
I don't see us moving up and them ending... Because they... If we moved up...
So 7th is the worst they could probably get, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's if they pass Sacramento and we moved up. Okay, because Orlando, Houston, Detroit, OKC, Indiana, and then Portland moving into the top 4.
Well, I was thinking Sacramento passed both of us for some... Like, I don't know.
No, that's the scenario it would be, because you have Orlando, Houston, Detroit, OKC, Indiana. I don't think either Portland or New Orleans is passing any 5 of those teams, right? So then if Portland moves up into the top 4, that's a 6th team, right? Or if Portland is below New Orleans, then obviously New Orleans would be 6th, and Portland would be 7th. I'm just saying, like, the best combination of picks we could realistically get would be our pick to move up. You know, obviously 1 would be the best case scenario, and then the best case scenario for New Orleans in that scenario would be 7. So I think that's the best combination of picks Portland could get would be 1 and 7. It's just at a certain point, I don't want the Pelicans to move up to 6th in the lottery odds and have a 37% chance at moving into the top 4 and us losing their pick.
Okay, so here's the scenario. San Antonio, New Orleans are within a game of each other when we play New Orleans next time. We are, let's say, 3 or 4 games back of New Orleans, so we're not in any jeopardy of falling, like, behind them by beating them, right? So you would still want to lose that game?
Say that again? I'm confused.
The Spurs have passed us, right? Because
Yeah.
they beat us. I think we played the Spurs 1 or 2 times before we play them, right?
Yeah.
So the Spurs have passed us because we lost to them. And then they are within a game of New Orleans, right? And we are now 2 or 3 games behind them both. So we are, like, clear in that situation.
Yeah.
And we're playing New Orleans that night with a chance for them to San Antonio. Let's say San Antonio is about to win. They play the same night. And we could have them, if we win, they'd be tied in the standings and we'd move we wouldn't move ahead of either of them. But if New Orleans beats us, they, are still have a little bit of distance between them and San Antonio, making it more likely that they'll make the play-in over the Spurs.
I don't. It's really hard to picture exactly what you're saying. I think I get what you're saying, but I mean, at a certain point, that's the thing. If we're like clear of them, we're probably getting close to maybe Sacramento at that point, and then I'd want to lose to pass Sacramento, or I'd want to lose to pass Indiana.
Yeah. It basically comes down to, do you care more about us moving up or keeping New Orleans out of the play-in if it came down to one of our games with them and in the race between them and San Antonio for the 10th spot and that play-in game, would you rather beat New Orleans, giving them a slightly better chance of moving up, or would you rather lose to them still and only worry about our pick and then hope they lose in the play-in?
I don't know. The option that I want is whatever option makes it more likely we get their pick. So if it's like they're moving up to 8th and it's a 26% chance of the top 4, I could get on board with that. Anything higher than 8th, I start to get nervous. Because I don't think there's greater than like a 30% chance that they play their way in through the play-in. So maybe 35% max. So if you're getting into them having like a 37% chance of moving into the top 4, I'd rather just have them be in the play-in. Now, their pick would be a little bit better in that scenario, so maybe it evens out, but I think it's two pretty even propositions. So I'd rather just have us lose in that scenario.
Okay. I don't like the idea of risking or having to watch them play in the play-in if we could do something about it.
Yeah, I agree.
While we're here...
Yeah. Is that loud?
It's pretty loud.
Alright, give me a sec. Carry the stream for a sec.
Quick Clutch asks, would you rather have the number 1 pick and lose the Pelicans pick, or have both at the 6 to 10 range? If we're talking about the number 1 pick, I would rather have that. If we're talking 6 to 10 range versus 3 or 4, I think I'd rather have 6 to 10. So it kind of depends on which pick we move up to, but I've said this on a couple streams now. I really like some of the guys 6 from 10, so either scenario I'm cool with. But if we have a chance to get Jabari Smith, I think it's a game changer for us, so I wouldn't hesitate if we got the number 1 pick or could guarantee that. Reese, I've talked about Oscar Shapeway a lot recently. Yeah, and I mean, he's a beast. He's really, really good. He's tough to stop, but he's a little. I kind of want to see his measurements because he's only about 6'9", so I'm a little worried about him being a center in the NBA or having the height to be a center in the NBA. If he has a long wingspan and a high standing reach, it might squash that a little bit, but I feel like he's a little bit of a tweener and he won't be able to do some of the same things, dominate on the boards and in the post like he does in the college game. But yeah, I don't know. He's very, very he's very, very, very skilled and one of the better rebounders, if not the best rebounder in the nation.
Yep. So Colorado's playing Oregon right now. They're up. Colorado's up 60-56 with 7:38 remaining in the second half. So that's a good game down to the wire. I'm sure a lot of you are maybe paying attention to that right now. UNLV is beating Wyoming 56-52 with 2 minutes left in the second. If Wyoming loses that game, they are in jeopardy of falling out of the NCAA tournament. They were on an 11 seed line. And obviously, if they lose in the conference tournament, they have to get an at-large bid. So UNLV, that would not be a good loss for them. You also got Baylor and Oklahoma is now underway. Oklahoma got out to an early 12-8 lead. There's 11:37 left in the first half. St. John's is playing Villanova, so Julian Champagny. That was one of my games to watch. St. John's is up 11-9. So lots of good games underway. Michigan State playing Maryland. They're up 43-34. Lots of good games underway right now, and a lot of them are nationally televised or on networks that some of you might have in your TV package, depending on what type of TV package you have.
Question was asked, what teams do we think Ivy would be considered over Banchero? I think
Maybe New York.
Yeah, New York, Detroit, I think maybe. Although I could see them going either way. I think they have a need at both spots. Sacramento, since they traded two of their guards, now need a second guard with Fox. So maybe that they're considerate. San Antonio, I think, could go either way. New Orleans, if they move up into the top four, I could certainly see going either way, especially if Zion comes back and they have some sort of extension with him this summer. Washington, I could see going either way, depending on what they do with Beal. So there's pretty much half the lottery teams I think would consider it. But yeah, I don't know if any of them would for sure pull the trigger, but I think that would definitely be a tough choice for a lot of teams.
Yeah. I didn't really have a follow-up for that. It's Ivy's... Seems like he has star potential, but his shot's questionable. Some of his decision-making is questionable. Some of his shot selection is questionable. He's, conservative at times when he should be aggressive, and then he's too aggressive at times when he should be a little bit more conservative. That stuff can get ironed out, but, no prospect is without question marks. Ben Caro has a lot of them. He has struggled shooting the ball this year. The thing is his passing ability has kept him in the top three. If he wasn't passing the way he has been lately, I don't think he's in the same, even close to the same tier as Chet and Jabari. I'd probably put him below Ivy and maybe even a couple other guys at this point, because I think he can be an okay defender. He's been good down the stretch in college. I just don't know if he's quick enough laterally to be able to guard perimeter players consistently well. He just seems like a guy who's team defense could be solid. He's inconsistent in that area. He early in the season, at least when I watched him, he fell asleep off ball a lot. So defensively has some question marks for me. His 3-point shot has been questionable as well. So those two combination of things, I think those are the two biggest things coming into the league as a forward that you need. You need to be able to shoot the ball. You need to be able to play defense. Okay, and then the best guys will be able to do a bunch of stuff off the dribble. And if you're a Luka Doncic, you can get away with not playing defense because you're just so good with the ball in your hands, so good off the dribble. And that's the upside for Banchero, is he handles the ball well, he moves well, he's shifty. And the fact that he's playmaking for others at such a high rate gives me more confidence in him being able to grow into maybe a number one or a number two role and being able to control the offense, not just for himself, not just getting his own shot off, but for getting other guys involved, making teammates better, that sort of thing.
Yeah, my main thing with him is I'm always curious about the spacing versus in college versus the NBA. So they use them a lot. A couple of their recent games have been against Syracuse, so we know they play a zone 100% of the time, pretty much. So he's basically just in that high post free throw line the whole game in those situations. So he gets a lot of passing opportunities because when the defense collapses on him when he gets the ball there. And I'm wondering when you go, I know you can kind of play zone in the NBA, but you can't just camp your big man right in the middle of the paint. So I think I'm interested to see how he does off the dribble more in a, from the perimeter, because I don't really see that a lot at Duke. I think he does have that in his game, especially against kind of bigger power forwards or slower power forwards in the NBA. But yeah, that'll be interesting. And then also the spacing on 3-point shots. I mean, I don't know if that'll improve or not, but sometimes that is a factor in the college game, is that the line's a little bit closer and that the zone defenses that I talked about, teams can cover the perimeter a little easier than they can in the NBA in some situations. So I'd just be interested to see if any of those improve when he goes to the next level. But like you said, I'm pretty impressed with his vision and his playmaking. He throws some really nice lob passes. Him and Mark Williams have a really nice 2-man game thing going. And yeah, it'll just be fun to watch him develop or not develop. But defensively, he was a little rough this morning against not a very good team. But they definitely need him to step up on that end if they're going to compete for the national title.
Yep. What's the realistic price for OG? I feel like we have to change protections on a Chicago pick so we can attach a future first to the Pelicans pick if we're serious about getting OG. It depends on where that Pelicans pick is, and it depends on how Toronto feels about the players in the draft, and then obviously depends on how they view OG's role on the team moving forward. But I still think it makes sense for them to trade a forward. They got 3 forwards. I don't think any of them should be playing center. I don't think any of them should be playing the 2. I think that they need to. I think they need to trade one of them. So I don't know if it's going to be Siakam. Maybe. Obviously, I'd love to get Siakam. I don't know if it's going to be OG. I don't think it's going to be Scotty Barnes. So it comes down to those 2 guys, and they might not elect to do anything. I don't know, but we definitely have to go after one of those 2 guys. I think Siakam would have a higher price point. If it's OG and if he's truly available, I think if you can get a pick that's 6 or 7, it could be our own pick if it doesn't move up, then I think that might be enough for OG, because you're looking at, especially if Sharp declares, if as Portland fans you want Shaedon Sharp to declare. Okay, let me just say that now. Somebody asked, or the letter 0, or the letter O. What am I talking about? The letter O asked when does Shaedon Sharp have to declare by? In May, I think, sometime in like late May. We want him to declare because that makes it more likely that an AJ Griffin will fall to maybe 6 or 7, and it just makes the draft better. So I don't know what the price point is for OG. I feel like they're going to be stingy with him and probably just keep him. But if he is truly available, I think the 6 or 7 pick would make sense, because then you're looking at one of Sharp, AJ Griffin, or Johnny Davis. And they could use like a wing for the future, a guard for the future. I know they have Trent, but they could use another one, in my opinion. They would be looking for a... I don't know. That's the thing. They're in such a weird position. They need a big, but there's no big in the top like 7 or 8 of the draft that I would see them falling in love with.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Duran. I don't know. But yeah, it's tough because I feel like a pick around 10 maybe on paper isn't enough, but we also have the ability to take on his contract without giving up any salary, which I think is important. And then, but yeah, it's like OG hasn't had that good of a year either. He's been kind of suspect on defense, where he's usually super sure on that end, like one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. And they were expecting him to take a bit of a jump when Siakam was out earlier this year, and he played decent. It's not like he's terrible or anything, but maybe just the fact that he didn't have the greatest year this year might influence them to trade them. So that would be my hope. I'm not counting on that. I don't know how realistic that is, so I'm not really gonna be disappointed if it doesn't happen, because I'm not thinking of it in those terms. But yeah, overall, there's definitely an avenue we should explore, because I still think he would be the perfect 3 on this team. But not the end of the world if we still have Nas and all that stuff, and hopefully a high Pelicans pick if not.
Yep. So let's, for, I don't know, 5-6 minutes. We don't have to talk about this a whole lot, but we should talk about Joe Ingles because he finally spoke. Do you have some quotes?
I don't have quotes, but he basically said that with how much Portland has invested in, like, talk to him and all that, he says he feels like he owes it to us to be here. Now, he basically said he was going to resign without saying it, which is cool because, I mean, a lot of the Jazz fans want him to go back to Utah next year. But yeah, we'll see. I don't even know if... I mean, Cronin said he was in their plans and stuff, but when it comes to it in free agency, if he's expecting like 10 to 12 million or something like that, that would be too much to pay for him, especially since he's going to miss part of next year most likely. But yeah, he kind of said that so far Portland's really treated him well, and that he feels like he should respect that and honor that they purposely went out and acquired him and have talked to him as part of their future. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm all for him as long as his contract isn't too much money. Like 7-8 million is probably the most I'd be willing to pay. And worst case scenario, if it's like a 1 or 2 year deal, we have that kind of mid-range contract that we haven't had this past season as a trade chip. Not that he has a lot of value, but we just need some sort of contracts to trade if it doesn't work out. So, yeah. Sorry, Trevin. I think Tori's mic is very staticky today.
Is it? Is it staticky for you too?
Yeah, it's getting the Space Invaders thing.
What about now?
Now you're good.
Okay, I moved it to the left. Sometimes when I have it in the center, it does that. How long has it been doing that for?
I don't know about on YouTube because I don't listen on that, but yeah, for me it's been doing it the whole time. But
wow, man, nobody said. Okay, never mind. Anyway,
some people didn't hear it, but yeah.
Okay, that's good. I guess.
Yeah, we don't have to give him the biannual or vet minimum, and this is why he's going to get paid more than that. We have the rights to sign him for more without that tying up any of our exceptions. So while if you see him sign for $7 million and it seems like it's going to be a terrible contract or whatever, like, don't think of it in those terms. Think of it in terms of we had the rights to do that without using the biannual exception or without using the mid-level exception, and it makes sense to kind of not necessarily super overpay him, but give him a little more than that just to make sure he wants to stay here if he's a big part of your plan moving forward. But yeah.
I mean, I still do what you suggested earlier and create a roster.
Yeah.
Or waive him and then re-sign him for this year and next year.
Mm-hmm.
And that way he doesn't have a no-trade clause. Because that's the thing. In the offseason, if we re-sign him for a 1-year deal, he'll have a no-trade clause automatically. Right. Basically, when you have a player with bird rights and you re-sign them for a 1-year deal, they have a no-trade clause. So we do have to worry about that. Inspector Zap, raise your resolution in your settings on your video. Try that, because the video's fun. Yeah. So if we were signing him for $12, a bunch of people will be like, "What in the world?" But I mean, what's the difference between $5 million and $12 million, considering it doesn't use MLE or 12 million. 12 million. Shout out to Connor, $50 dono. He says, got a pretty solid raise today, so I thought I would spread the love.
Congrats,
Good
Connor.
job, Connor. Congrats on the raise, man. Appreciate you spreading some of the love. I'm happy to hear that for you, man. Congratulations. So Connor sent in his missed picks against the spread because he was getting a raise and making a bag. So Connor is rich now. Congratulations to Connor. And appreciate the donation, Connor. Oh man, that's cool. We'll talk about that later, man. I'll hop in a voice chat with you, and I want to know how things are going, man, because it sounds like they're going pretty good. Better than me today, considering I got a flat tire. So I got to go get that replaced. That money will go towards that. I appreciate you helping me out and making things better, because flat tires suck. Anyway, I'm all over the place. What were we talking about?
Joe Ingles.
Because I said $12 and you had to point that out. I meant 12 million. If Joe Ingles resigns for 12 million or 5 million, doesn't matter. Does not matter one bit. $12 million matches more salary in a trade, and it doesn't take away any of our other avenues to sign actual free agents. So
I mean, unless it's like a 4-year, 48.
if it's like a 1-year contract, the difference between 5 million and 12 million doesn't matter. Because that's the thing, you might be able to overpay him and get his word that, like, okay, since you're paying me this much, I won't use my no trade clause from this 1-year contract, and then you can just trade him freely as an expiring contract.
Mm. And it's also important to note that he's not going to make more than 12 million the next season. So usually when you talk about that, it's because of a player that, like Rodney Hood, for example, if he doesn't get hurt, probably was going to make more than 5.7 million a year, right? So he's looking at potentially losing tens of millions of dollars if he gets traded and goes to a team that doesn't have the ability to pay him more than that 5.7 million that he was making when we re-signed him that year. Whereas Ingles is at the end of his career, his salary is going to be going down from here on out. So a team trading him, even though they wouldn't have his bird rights, they would still have the rights to match up to 125% of his $12 million contract. So we're still talking about them being able to re-sign him for 15 million or less. And so it's not going to factor in as much as it would with some of the other players it does with that rule.
Yeah, so that's cool to hear him say that, because it was like, oh, he's just going to go back to Utah. He doesn't want to be here. He wants to be in Utah. So that's cool to hear. You re-sign him and you take a chance that he can get back to the Joe Ingles we all know. Maybe he won't. Age plus this injury is going to be tough to overcome, obviously. But, it's not like he relies on athleticism when he plays anyway. So he's the type of player that could bounce back from this, even with his age, even with the injury. And you just re-sign him and take a chance, you know what I mean? And he comes back at some point in the middle of next season, maybe December, January, and you see if he can make the team better. And if not, trade chip. There's no reason not to bring him back. It doesn't affect anything else that you do with the roster in the offseason. You could lose him for nothing and then just be like, oh, well, we need to fill a roster spot and bring back Elijah Hughes. I'd rather have Joe Ingles.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Me too.
You too. Anything else for this stream that you want to talk about?
So there's a lot of questions about getting, a couple later picks versus or picks in the 6 to 10 range versus top 3 pick or whatever. I just want the pick to convey. The problem is if we move up and the Pelicans pick doesn't convey, there's no teams that have 2 picks in that middle range. So it's not like we could trade back. So it's either we get the picks or we don't. So
if we move up, you just take somebody in the top 4.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like we don't even have the option to trade down unless we're talking like future picks or multiple picks. I don't know. But yeah, so I agree. You probably have to just take the best picks in those scenarios.
Yeah. And if you're 3, it's obvious. If you're 4, then, Ivy, another guard. You have to work some things out with how that ends up sorting itself out. But, maybe honestly, if you draft Ivy at 4, I know people hate it, but then maybe you try and sign and trade Anthony for like a Pascal Siakam type player. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Or you try... ideally, though, you just trade that 4th pick for a Pascal Siakam type player, right? Like, you just go that route. You keep Ant, and then if that's the thing, if the pick moves up into the top 4, it makes it easier to potentially trade for a Siakam with that pick.
Yeah.
If he becomes available. And even if he's not available, that might be a good enough pick, and Masai Ujiri might fall in love with Jaden Ivey. or somebody else there. So lots of scenarios to talk about. We'll have a lot of time in the offseason to talk about them, considering there's no chance we're making the play-in or the playoffs at this point. This team is in tank mode and succeeding quite drastically, to say the least. We'll have another post-game show on Saturday.
Oh.
That'll be a home game, so it'll be at 9:30 p.m. Start time for the post-game show.
Let me just answer this question real quick. How did the protection on the Chicago pick work? Asked Gopal. So it's protected lottery through 2028 or something. So we get it every year. We don't make the playoffs. We don't get it if it does go in the playoffs. So as soon as that conveys in 2023, assuming we make the playoffs next year, then our conditions to them are over and we're done with that trade or whatever. And then it frees up all our future picks. But it just kind of makes it murky until that point where it conveys. But whether Dame is on board with the tank next year or not is irrelevant, because if he gets hurt and we're back in the same situation where we do not make the playoffs because he got hurt, then we would not want to have a situation where it was unprotected and it went to Chicago. So I am not in favor of unprotecting that pick no matter what happens. I mean, maybe if we got a superstar, I don't know if OG is enough for me to want to unprotect that pick. I mean, we could change the protections to where it conveys sooner or maybe for less picks, but I wouldn't want to do that and risk getting a top 4 pick or whatever in a future year with Dame's uncertainty, especially for someone who isn't like a true superstar or whatever. Now, if we got a chance to get, I'm like, maybe if Siakam is available, that's a different story, but we also have trouble matching salary in that situation. I don't know. It's just a situation where I don't really want to make that work.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you're trading for Siakam, by the way, the 4th pick or whatever, say that you get the 4th pick and Toronto wants it, it would likely be a scenario where you'd have to draft the player they want and then sign them and then wait 30 days and then trade that player's salary with Eric Bledsoe, because you'd need whoever is drafted at 4, you'd need their salary to match Siakam, because the Blazers don't really have another salary piece they can attach to a Bledsoe in order to match Siakam's salary.
And that would mean no summer league for any of the rookies and no and then it gets tricky with having players not tradable or not like our cap situation with free agency during that span as well. So yeah, just, I
mean, because what's the 4th pick rookie scale NBA?
I want to say it's about 6,
I think it's
5 or 6 million.
I need to look up the real GM because you can do it by year. So let's do 2022, 2023.
Did Oregon lose?
Yep, Oregon's going to lose. And you can do as much as 120% of what the rookie scale wages. So it's 6.5 million. So multiply that by 1.2. You could sign him for like 7.8 million. Plus Bledsoe next year is what, 19.4 million? If I recall correctly.
I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, well, I mean, it would match because Siakam's 35 mil, so the 4th pick, signing them, waiting 30 days, plus Bledsoe's contract, plus a minimum contract, like a Greg Brown would match for Siakam. So, and if anybody in here is about to say, no, I wouldn't give up Greg Brown for Siakam, it would be time to end the stream if that's the case. I hope nobody says that. But yeah, we're not tanking next year, but you can't unprotect the pick. If Dame gets hurt and we get bit by the injury bug and we end up in the lottery and end up in a situation like we did this year, you wouldn't want to give up a chance at getting a potential generational player, because the top of the draft next year is better than the top of the draft this year. So, anyway. And
then to the letter O, how much cap space do we have if we keep Ant and Nurk? Basically 0. And I'll have a video explaining why in the next few days.
Yep. And then we'll have the stream on Saturday as well, post-game show. Hopefully you can make it. If not, hopefully you have a good rest of your weekend. Anything else for the sign-off, Eric?
Well, thank you everyone for watching. Have a good day.
Yep. Peace out. Go Blazers.